Shalom, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashemi Hawashai, Bahashema Kodesh. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS, to the true leaders of Israel today, and salutations to all of the Akim who do this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so, as well as the scattered Israelites who come looking like the heathen but are not, by way of their forefathers' seeds who are Israelite men. The true name of the Most High is Yahweh, and his son's name is Yahushai. And the Lord's holy chosen people are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, as well as the ones who suffer under the curses in the book of Deuteronomy. My name is Akalia, and this video is on the prophecies of Yahweh Shemishai, specifically the famine. And famine is a part of the judgments that will be coming upon the world in these final days, the final days of the rulership of the so-called white man, who are the biblical Edomites, whose forefather is Esau. They are the wicked. And we're going to be seeing many prophecies come to pass before the end of their kingdom, which includes the famine, the pestilences, the judgment of the sword, Jacob's trouble, the mark of the beast, which is the microchip, World War III. We have all of these things, man, that are on their way. And famine is a very big part of the judgments that are coming from Yahweh Shemishai. As it says in 2 Ezra chapter 15 and verse 5, Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. So famine is a part of one of the plagues. And you know, in this time that we're in right now, we are in modern day Egypt, and ancient Egypt saw a famine. And so we shall experience a famine in these end of days, the end of the rulership of Esau's kingdom. As the scriptures say, there's no new thing under the sun. Many of the plagues and judgments that occurred during our Egyptian captivity are going to happen during this current modern day captivity under the Edomites, by way of America. And America is known as spiritually Sodom and Egypt. Okay, so famine is coming. And let's take a look at this article. A US run system alerts the world to famines. It's gone dark after Trump slashed foreign aid. Now, one thing about it is that over here in the West, people are very comfortable in certain ways regarding food security. I know that out here in Jamaica, I believe I saw an article the other day, something about there was a pretty high percentage of food insecurity in the country. But the situation is that most people have not experienced anything close to a famine at all over here in the West. I know that in South America, in Venezuela, they had a famine situation, I believe a few years ago or something. But in terms of a famine, none of us have experienced it. And you mostly hear about a sort of famine or hunger crisis and stuff like that over there in Africa and the Middle East, right? So the thing is that many countries are actually quite close to the brink of famine. So let's just take let's see what this has to say. A vital US running monitoring system focused on spotting food crises before they turn into famines has gone dark after the Trump administration slashed foreign aid. The Famine Early Warning Systems Network, FuseNet, monitors drought, crop production, food prices, and other indicators in order to forecast food insecurity in more than 30 countries. Funded by US aid and managed by contractor Chemonics International, the project employs researchers in the United States and across the globe to provide 8-month projections of where food crisis will emerge. Now it's work to prevent hunger in Sudan, South Sudan, Somalia, Yemen, Ethiopia, Afghanistan, and many other nations has been stopped amid the Trump administration's effort to dismantle the US aid. These are the most acutely food insecure countries around the globe, said Tanya Boudreau, the former manager of the project. Amid the aid freeze, FuseNet has no funding to pay staff in Washington or those working on the ground. The website is down, and its treasure trove of data that's underpinned global analysis on food security used by researchers around the world has been pulled offline. FuseNet is considered the gold standard in the sector, and it publishes more frequent updates than other global monitoring efforts. Those frequent reports and projections are key, experts say, because food crises evolve over time, meaning early interventions save lives and save money. All right, so they talk about, it's here and, the situation that people are in. I'm going to go down a bit. So it says, however, multiple USAID staff and contractors who have spoken to CNN say almost all USAID humanitarian assistance programs remnants stopped in their tracks as payments have not been processed and there are no staff in DC to manage contracts. So the way I'm understanding it so far is that basically the countries that have the food insecurity situation, they no longer will be getting aid, which means that if they're already on the brink of famine, then and they're not receiving any more aid, it means that they will fall into a famine without such aid. That includes life-saving food assistance in Afghanistan, Colombia, Sudan, and the Democratic Republic of Congo, among other countries, according to a list of terminated USAID awards obtained this week by CNN. The list shows that charity partners have also had to stop providing nutrition-dense products for children suffering from starvation in Myanmar, as well as hold back food deliveries in Ethiopia, and aid now at risk of spoiling in warehouses. Okay, so they're experiencing famine, man, or they're about to, because the aid that has been used to prevent it has stopped. All right, so this is a part of Bible prophecy, man, where famine is going to consume the entire world. Signs of the times. In the book of Matthew, chapter 24, Yahushua lets us know of what we will be seeing at the end. So Matthew 24 and verse 6, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. And we know we're heading into the time of Jacob's trouble, which the elect of the nation of Israel, Lord willing, I'm a part of that number, a member of the hopeful elect, right? That elect will be delivered out of Jacob's trouble. So these are the signs that are the beginning of sorrows. We're going to be experiencing earthquakes, pestilences, and famines. And the earthquakes are happening very frequently. The pestilences are building up, whichever way around the world, from the whole quademic situation to the whole bird flu situation to the Ebola situation to the Henipa virus situation and the Marburg disease situation, all of these kinds of things, man. And so now we're going to be seeing the famine, but the famine is a part of the beginning of sorrows. So these countries, right, because Yahweh Shemishai said that he will bring plagues upon the world. So the world is going to be feeling all of these things, man. All right, so these places that have been on the brink of famine and are no longer receiving any aid are most likely going to fall into famine. And then, of course, America, over here in the West, we're at some very early beginning stages heading towards a famine, because the famine is going to come to pass because it is Bible prophecy. There's nothing that can be done to prevent it. And a US-run system alerts the world to famines, right? Just going back to this US-run monitoring system focused on spotting food crisis, right? So I'm sure that when these places fall into the famine, that the big announcement will be made that this country, that country is in famine, right? And, there's some certain stages that happen at first, such as having to be very careful with the rationing and the food that you consume, because of maybe you can't afford it, or maybe there's less of it. There's that, and the scriptures talk about it, that Jerusalem will measure food and water by care. So it goes from that stage to eventually where there isn't any food found in the places. And so in 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 22, it says, "And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full houses shall suddenly be found empty, and the trump shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid." Right? So those food places, the places that have food, will be suddenly found empty, and there won't be any food there. Right? And then it says, "And the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid." So they have systems set up that will alert the world to certain things that are happening, and one of the systems, according to this, is to alert of famine, if I'm understanding it correctly. So there's going to come a time where the trumpet is sounded, where it said, you know, we're experiencing a famine, or we're close to experiencing a famine, and people are going to be afraid, man. "At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies, and the earth shall stand in fear of those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run." So because of the famine, people are going to be fighting one another, because people are going to be starving. And you know, at first it's going to be like, some people aren't going to be able to afford it, like the different social classes. People who have less money aren't going to be able to afford it at first, and then they're going to end up starving, while those who may be able to get a few items will have the few items. But those that are starving are going to be going, and they want the food, because it's going to be a famine. People really won't be able to find food anywhere, so they're going to be looking for it anywhere, and they're going to try to acquire it however it is. And whosoever was friends and family and whatever else, man, those relationships are going to be done away with. Okay? Because the famine is going to be that severe upon the earth. In 2nd Esdras, I want to go straight to the point. In verse, I start at 2nd Esdras 15 and verse 18. "For because of their pride the city shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread, and for great tribulation." So this is what the famine is going to do. And the famine is going to be so extreme that cannibalism is going to happen due to it. So we're in some very serious times, man. And this situation right here, it appears to be very intentional with it, right? And everything that's been happening, you can tell, like with Trump being in power and stuff, everything is heading towards a very chaotic kind of situation with the things that he's doing, the things that he's implementing, the moves he's making, like with the trade wars, and then how he's treating his allies, this USA thing and all that kind of stuff, man. All right, but it's coming. And famine is a very serious judgment. The scriptures say, I'm going to finish it off with this one in Lamentations chapter 4 and verse 9, to show you how terrible the judgment of famine is. "They that be slain with the sword are better than they that be slain with hunger, for these pine away, stricken through for want of the fruits of the field." So it is better to die by the sword than of famine. That's what the scriptures are saying. And then I mentioned the cannibalism that is coming. So it says, "The hands of the pitiful women have sodden their own children." And the word sodden here is bashal, H1310. It says to boil, cook, bake, roast, ripen. So cook their own children. They were their meat in the destruction of the daughter of my people. Yeah, man, it's a very serious judgment, man. The famine is going to lead to mass death. It's going to lead to cannibalism. It's going to lead to chaos. Right? And we're on the way, man, to it. But as Yahushua said to us in the Matthew 24, when we see the famine, the pestilences, and the earthquakes, these are the beginning of sorrows. So imagine the judgments of Yahweh Shemishai that are on their way. As the scriptures say, spirits created for vengeance. Alright, so with that, all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Shemishai, Bashim Kodesh, Shalom.